KF7UHK.
Good evening. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. On the 08 machine, I'm Dave, KD7CYM. The Western Washington Amateur Television Society is a group of amateur radio enthusiasts that take to the airways with fast scan television. We have a repeater located up on Cougar Mountain. We transmit on 70 centimeters. It's a crossband repeater. It spits out images at 1.2 gigahertz. To find out more about the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, please Google WW7ATS. That's Google WW7ATS. That will take you to our home page. There you'll find the exact frequencies we transmit on, a little background on our organization, and also you'll find a link there on our front page that will take you to YouTube, where we stream our nets held Wednesdays and Saturdays between 8 and 9 o'clock. Also, we'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08 with a specific tone of 103.5 for this net. There's a specific tone of 103.5 for this net. So I'll pause in case anybody has emergency traffic or needs to make a contact on the 08 machine before our net gets fully underway. This is Dave, KD7CYM. Hearing none, again, welcome to the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Checked in via video link already is Ron, KD7QKU, Bob, K9PQ, Richard, K7ITX, Jim, N7QO, and myself, Dave, KD7CYM. Is there anybody else that wants to check into the net?
KF7UHK.
KF7UHK, Jessica, we got you checked in. Well, let's get the ball rolling on the net. Let's start it off with Ron, KD7QKU.
Well, thank you very much, Dave. This is KD7QKU over here in Tacoma. Well, I was telling Bob and Dave before we started that I turned my grand stream on my camera and I got my tablet out, put it on the website on the streaming, so I can actually see myself talking on this YouTube now. And I was maybe going to try to show a little video later. My little camcorder the battery was dead. I have it on the charger, so maybe it'll work in a little bit. Let's see, I'm just thinking, what did we do? I went for a walk this afternoon. I hadn't done much for the last couple of months, so probably, around Christmas and before, I hadn't walked for a while, and then got COVID and did do a thing, for a month. And so I was so weak that I could hardly walk up to the corner and back. So it's a mile if I walk around this block. It's a big block. It's actually just slightly over a mile. And it's a little bit uphill, so I've been walking up and back a few days, and then I had been, my iPhone has a deal on it, a little icon. It's a little square with a heart in it, and if you touch on that icon, it tells you everything about yourself, how far you walk, how many calories you burn. And it also told me that I wasn't steady when I was walking. And so then, if you touch it again, it'll offer you suggestions how to strengthen your legs and stuff. It said to go out in the backyard and walk in a figure 8, which I did quite a bit, and then sit in a chair and stand up and do some other exercise. And then I'd walk. So today I decided, I started up to the corner. Gee, I felt pretty strong when I got to the corner, so I decided to walk all the way around. So I walked a mile. It was nice this afternoon. So anyway, so that's it for now. So back to net, KD7QKU.
7QKU. Let's go to Jessica, KF7UHK.
Jessica, KF7UHK, where, you know, everybody takes their turn being sick, and this last week it was mine. The week before that, Sylvia got sick with, we thought it was just an asthma attack. We almost went to the hospital because she couldn't breathe very well. But she stuck it out and had this really bad cough for a couple of days. And then I got sick. I had a sore throat and a fever, and it's just a really terrible runny nose. Just one of these runny noses, just almost hurt to have it. And I was out of work for about 4 days in total, which is, to me, that's kind of a lot. And so I went back to work on Friday and stuck it out, and then and they called me on the radio and said, "How would you like to work Saturday?" So I worked today. I worked 11 hours today, and I felt pretty good because I went to the doctor and got a bunch of medicines along with a steroid, 5-day steroid regimen, some internal cough medicine, and something to calm my stomach. And oh my gosh, goodness, it's going around too. They said that one day there was 4 different buses that had, one less driver to be able to do it because so many of us are getting sick with things like this. This is an upper respiratory infection is what they're calling it. So it's good to hear so many people have checked in tonight. I'm probably not going to stay along long because Sylvia's going to be home in a few minutes from work, and I had a long day. But it's good to hear you guys. This is Jessica, KF7UHK.
7UHK. Well, we wish you well. Getting better and better. Let's go to Bob, K9PQ at Bottle.
Well, I'm having to do a little new and different switching tonight, but I'm happy to do it. Congratulations, Ron, on getting back on Grand Stream, and hopefully more will do the same. Yeah, and that's really cool about your iPhone, Ron. I did not know it would tell you if your walking was unsteady and give you tips like that. I think that's really cool. I'm going to look for, there's nothing built into my Android phone, but there might be apps out there I can find to do a similar thing. It sounds pretty interesting. And I guess I shouldn't say I know there's nothing built into my phone. There's nothing I'm aware of built into my phone. I mean, there are all these apps out there for, for counting steps and things like that. So I'm sure some of them would do that. Yeah, get well, Jessica. I got a text from James. He's also under the weather. He came to our meeting. I don't know if he's listening or not, but thanks. I appreciate you coming to the meeting, James. But he's not going to join the net tonight. Yeah, so I'm just sort of starting out trying to get my exercise going again myself. I just kind of fell out of the habit, I'm afraid. So you guys that have been to my house, it's a pretty steep hill up to get to where you enter at the street, and that's where my mailboxes are. So my plan is to, for starters, just walk up that hill and get the mail every day. And, it's about a 90-foot elevation gain. So it's pretty good to get my heart going. But it's just a start because it doesn't last very long. So, but it is my start, and it's to get the muscles and tendons and all of that kind of stuff in shape as well too. One thing I learned is people that get injured that are starting to exercise, usually it's about 3 or 4 weeks in, because that's when their muscles get in good shape, but your ligaments and tendons are not in good shape yet, and so you overdo it and you give yourself an injury to those things, to the ligaments and tendons, and then that can take a long time to heal. Okay, well that's a good start. I'll send it back to net, K9PQ.
K9PQ, thanks for that. And we'll get an ID here. Again, this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Let's go to Kent, to Richard, K7ITX. What say you?
Well, I say I'm happy not to have these sicknesses that everyone's talking about. That's the last thing I need, so I've been pretty lucky, fortunate. So Ron, good to hear that you're back in the saddle, trying to do your walk around the block. That's a big deal. I know exactly where you're coming from there. It doesn't take long to lose it at all. It doesn't take long. And boy, unfortunately, that's kind of where I'm at. And Jessica, oh my gosh, sorry to hear about that upper respiratory sickness. That doesn't sound like any fun at all. Yeah, and I know it's been going around. I think Debbie, the YL, even had it. So other than that, I just have to get with the program. I did get out the last a little bit yesterday, just shopping, if you can call that walking. But the day before, I did walk around our loop, and it's not quite a mile, but it's dang near, so that was a good thing for me. So let's see on and then as far as what did I do today? Well, I didn't walk. I was all excited because yesterday, with the help of the accountant, I signed off and got my mom's estate income tax return out the door, and that meant K1 beneficiary schedules got sent out to my brother and sister, and I already had it, so having that then allowed me to do my own personal taxes for me and Debbie, and luckily or happily came in right about where I thought. I'll only have to send out about $167 to Uncle Sam, so that's a victory in my book. So and then let's see. Iceland. Right now, they're just on pins and needles with respect to another eruption in Grindavik. They literally, I don't know if they can see with the naked eye, but they've got good reason to think that the lava is pretty much at the surface now, and it's ready to pop through any crevice, and they don't know which one. So they're getting worked up over that. But the big news is the capital, Reykjavik, is now being threatened. So I mean, not in the next week or two, but this trend that started, with Grindavik and the Blue Lagoon, that started, probably about 6 months ago. Well, they're kind of getting the same similar activity by Reykjavik, and so they put a hold on any development east of the city. So that's probably smart, but that could be horrible. They already have a housing shortage, now I don't know. It's what a place to live. I mean, Well, all I can say, it's never been a problem for the last 500 years, and so now, I guess, we live in interesting times. I think that might be a Chinese curse. K7ITX, back to net control.
K7ITX, Richard, thanks for that. Let's go to Wade, W7ITL in Tacoma.
Well, this is W7ITL. Let's see if I can get in on the Grand Stream, not Grand Stream, but the RF here. I'm going to try to switch myself in, but while I try to do that, let me see if I can tell you a little about what I was doing today. This morning I went to the radio club of Tacoma and got to visit with everybody and got to meet a few folks from the PSRG net. They had Lloyd and I think it was Jim. I don't know his last name. From Deer Park. And then got home and picked my son up from Boy Scouts because he went to there for the Pinewood Derby and was helping out because he's a Boy Scout and they don't typically do that. It's usually a Cub Scout thing. Besides that, I went out to eat this local pub here and had some good beer and good food. And then later tonight, I'm going to be going out to a movie. I'm not quite sure the title. My wife is booking that up. And then that's pretty much it for tonight. I'm trying to think of other things that I want to talk about, but I just don't have anything on my mind. All right, well, this is W7ITL back to net.
W7ITL, thanks for that. Let's go to Jim, N7QO in Covington.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Good evening, everyone. Well, Ron, iPhone app. Man, it seems to me that no matter what you do, it's like everyone is a critic, but now your phone is a critic. Hey, you're walking screwy. Do this. Man, I don't know. Oh well. Anyway, Ron, glad you're feeling better. Jessica, sorry you're kind of not quite up there yet. You honestly don't sound all that good. Thanks for joining us, though. I know you're feeling a little better, but I would say it's because of the drugs. So you need some rest, probably 11 hours. Man, I salute you. That's I couldn't do that when I was well. Right now, man. And Bellevue Jim, I hope you get to feeling better as well. Dick, at least you're not sick. That's good. Thanks for the update on the volcano. Man, I feel for those people. There are people who feel that same thing might happen to us at any moment. So I don't know. I have to keep the batteries in my HT charged once a month or so here, just in case something like that happens. Of course, if all the repeaters go down, I'm not sure how valuable the HTs will be. Oh well. Let's see. My thoughts on walking, though. Get a treadmill. You go up a hill or something, or you go a mile away from your house and then decide, I really don't want to be this far from home. The treadmill is good because you can do it. You can walk on there in your birthday suit. You can do it whether it's raining outside, whether it's snowing outside, whether there's ice on the ground, and not only weather, but you don't have to worry about being accosted by dogs or raccoons or whatever, hostile neighbors. I used to run in the mornings when I was in high school, and one day I'm running down a street pretty close to the house, and some dog just decides he's going to take off after me. I guess I was in his territory, and he started chasing me and biting at my ankle. I turned around, I ran after that sucker. I almost got myself lost, but when I finally stopped, the dog just kept on running. So I don't know, but that's when I used to go run at 5 in the morning before I had school, and then after that I decided I would run at 4 in the morning, which was a little bit of a struggle, but you know what? At 5 in the morning, it seems like all the dogs that are outside are either just waking up, or else maybe people are letting them outside. At any rate, you hear dogs barking at you as you run by houses at 5 in the morning, but at 4 o'clock, it's dead quiet out there. That was kind of cool, I guess. In fact, I shouldn't say this, but there's one area I would run by, and there's a police car parked there, and I'd see the cops just taking a cat nap in the middle of the night, too. I guess, you know, if they were needed, they got a radio, someone would call them, but it was just kind of interesting. I don't know. Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
WW7ATS, and it's time for another ID. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. Well, for me, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, I think I'm going to be sound asleep. I'm not going to be out there running around. But I do have a treadmill in the basement. I guess I'll have to dust that off, start working out with that. But for me, I got together with my tax man, and all the documents are there, so I'm waiting for him to do the bean counter thing and call me back and tell me the good news or the bad news. And all of the paperwork is in, and all of my receipts are in his bundle to go through and check things out. So that's what I was doing. And got some domestic chores done around the house today, and oh my, it's 45 degrees outside right now and overcast. So anyway, that's the weather from here. So let's go back up to Ron, KD7QKU.
KD7QKU here. Well, I just rolled back and looked at my temperature. It's 40 degrees out here. So Jessica, if you're still listening, gee, it's too bad you were sick, and it sounded like Sylvia was too. And then you sounded pretty hoarse, so you better take it easy so you can get well. And I'm like Jim, working 11 hours. Wow, I forget what that would be like. We did have a treadmill over in Bellevue. We had it for, I don't know, 25 or 30 years, and never hardly ever used it. Joanne would use it sometimes. I prefer to go out and walk in the neighborhood, really, than on the treadmill. And we could see a TV set, too. I could turn the TV around the bedroom. You could see the TV set from the treadmill, but it was still boring. I mean, really boring. So I prefer walking outside. There's a lot of nice places to walk here. The neighbor whose husband passed away came over this afternoon and asked Joanne to take her to the grocery store. Well, I noticed her car wasn't there. She has an SUV. I noticed it wasn't there. I thought maybe she'd gone to her brother's in Oregon, but usually she tells us, but they have the wheelchair van. So anyway, she came over and asked Joanne to take her to the grocery store, said that she had her car in to have some repair work done on it. I didn't know there was any problem with it, but it's getting older. And so then she said the wheelchair van wouldn't run because the battery was dead. And so I said, well, I have a battery tender. I'll give it to you. We had it on the Jeep Liberty, and I gave the Jeep Liberty away. I kept the battery tender, and so we don't have a need for it. But I said, first I need to bring my battery charger over probably and charge the battery up before we put the tender on it. It's been sitting there for a month. Something ran the battery did. So maybe tomorrow. I was going to do it this afternoon, but then they went to the grocery store and I walked around the block. When I came home, I went in and turned the ham radio on 10 meters, and it was pretty busy. A lot of Japanese stations. It's sort of the gray line. I like to turn it on about 3:30, 4 o'clock, because about that time it swings around in the head of people from Texas. And the people in Texas, they're nice to talk to. So down on the end of the band, like 28,300 and up to about 400, people tend to just chat. And then there's always contesters on. And they're usually kind of farther, and so is all the Japanese stations. I very seldom talk to a Japanese station. I have talked to a few of them in the past. So at about 4:30, it's just about starting to get dark, and the band is really dying out. I hear this call from Northern Australia, calling CQ North America. And before I could write down his call and get to my microphone, somebody from Minnesota called him, and he heard him, and the band is dying, and it's sort of fading out, and so when he finished up with the guy in Minnesota, I could still hear him, but not, but it was much less than I had earlier, a minute or two before that. It's at the end of the band on 10 meters. It quits by 5 o'clock always, at least this time of year, or 4:30. So anyway, I threw my call sign out 2 times. I gave him my call sign, said calling, and he never returned the call. So, and then I couldn't hear him anymore. So either he moved on or the band had died. But I would have liked to talk to the guy. I've talked to Tasmania before on 10 meters from the house, so that was pretty good. But I've never talked to Northern Australia, so I don't know where he was. And I think his call sign was TV. I think he said number 5, but I never did look him up on QRC. And I tell you the truth, I wasn't sure that was his whole call. So I don't know what he said for sure. But anyway, didn't get him. So let's see. So then Judy came over and had dinner with us tonight. Joanna had tacos. She had invited her over for dinner, so we had tacos together and visited for a while. My grandson then sent me. Let me let her drop, maybe. My grandson sent me some texts and some pictures. So they had moved to Texas. He used to work for Boeing. He worked for Boeing for a long time. I thought he had a really good job, made a lot of money. But he decided, to start this parking lot striping business. He started that business, and he said he could make more money in a week striping parking lots than he could in a whole month at Boeing. So anyway, he ended up quitting Boeing and doing parking lots full time. And he had a guy, either a partner or a guy working with him. So that business is still going here, and he moved his family to Texas, and he is starting a business down there, and he just sent me some pictures. He finally got all these licenses, and he just bought a box truck, and he bought all new equipment, and he sent me pictures of his new equipment, and he had rented a little warehouse to house the paint and truck and everything in it. And so he's just about ready to go down there, he said. So he's about 36. He's a smart guy. He went, he went big time. He went through an advertising, I guess you'd want to call it, consultant or something, and they put him on everything. And he did, like over here at Tacoma, he did the I want to call it the shipyard or whatever it is. He striped all that. He goes for the biggest jobs he can get, and they do 2 or 3 colors. And the last time I talked to him up here, they were going to buy a asphalt coating machine, because that seemed to be a problem. They didn't have one, and a lot of times the parking lots need to be recoded, treated, and they have to wait for people to come and do it, and they have to wait for it to dry, and so they said that was a hindrance, so they were going to buy the equipment to do it themselves. And but he said they had more business up here than they could do. And then of course the weather in the winter, you can't stripe when the asphalt's wet, so that's why he wanted to go to Texas. He had a bunch of cousins and relatives that lived down there, so he went down there. They bought a new house, and his cousin's kids are about their kids. They have 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. And so anyway, he's just about ready to go. He said, and he sent me pictures. All right, back to net, KD7QKU.
KD7QKU, and it's ID time again. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Well, let's go to Jessica, KF7UHK.
This is Jessica, KF7UHK. Ron, that's really interesting about, pavement striping and stuff. It's kind of amazing how kind of what you'd think would be a rudimentary job can make so much money, but it totally makes sense. So that's pretty cool. And speaking of you listening to radio and 28,300 up to 400, I'm just about ready. I'm almost ready to start setting up a new table for my my HF radio and one of my VHF UHF radios up in the house up north. And I have an FTM 897 and an FTM 350 for my radio sources, and I can't wait to do that. I'm kind of building a table to do it up in the upper half of our little garage we had built. So I'm really looking forward to that. And yes, I am really hoarse. I think I got the whole horse herd in my voice sometimes. And Jim, you said something about drugs are good, but rest is better. Yeah, you bet. And I try to get as much rest as I can. When I had to work this morning at 7:30, I went to bed like 8 o'clock last night. Didn't sleep that good, but I always try to get as much rest as I can, to the point where sometimes I wake up way before the alarm goes off. But I think rest is a good cure. And then on little devices like you're talking about the telephone that would track things, which I think is always amazing. I have a little thing I got from Bartel, one of these blood oxygen readers you stick on your finger. I think it costs about $45 or something like that. It puts out, it shows you your heart rate and your oxygen level and your pulse rate. Kind of amazing for what it does, and it does it all mostly through looks like an LED and a sensor that it's reading all this stuff from. I think it's really cool. And they use basically the same thing at the doctor's office when I go in. I think I showed it to them. They said, "Oh yeah, those are good." So, the little blood oxygen finger reader. So I'm going to say 73, because Sylvia's going to come walking in the door in a few minutes. Make sure she's got something to eat. And it sure is good to hear everybody. I hope James on the other end over there gets better. I hope he doesn't have the same thing, but it's going around. It's going around like wildfire, and in an amazing way, because you think you're kind of protected a little bit in this little shell that we all kind of keep, but not necessarily. So when it gets out hard. So take care, everybody. Good to hear from you, and we'll talk to you again. This is Jessica, KF7 UHK, and these are my 73. This is my 73, KF7 UHK.
UHK, we got your 7-3. Thanks for that. Let's go to Bob, K9PQ and Bob.
Okay, well, let's see. I took a lot of notes, and I have a lot to talk about, but I'll try and keep it brief. So, yeah, the blood oxygen thing, I'll start with that, because Sylvia just mentioned that. I have one of those as well that I got very early on in COVID, when they indicated that was one of the signs, one of the problems with COVID, and why people had to go on ventilators, because your blood oxygen level would drop. So it was something that, we learned, of course, that there are many other ways to tell if you've got COVID, but that was early on when they were still trying to figure it all out. That was something they recommended getting. But tying that into the iPhone and the iPhone sensors, they have, they're dealing with watch recalls or watch import bans, I believe, because they have, their smart watches have this oxygen, blood oxygen meter built in on the same principle as the ones that go on your finger, but apparently it wasn't working right. And so the U.S. said, no, we don't want these here if they're giving false readings. And first they were going to just disable it, and I thought, well, sure, that will take care of it. But I saw an article like last week, I think, that said that that wasn't enough. They were still trying to, do whatever they had to do to get around this this import ban. So some troubles for Apple right there. But yeah, and I love the idea of the critic. A very good one, Jim. Yeah, that's a pet peeve of mine, especially when it's something automated that I'm dealing with, and it's telling me I'm doing it wrong, and I know I'm not doing it wrong, but it still tells me I am. That's a big pet peeve of mine. As far as striping, yeah, those kind of businesses are interesting. I had a friend in Chicago who had a friend from, like, back in his high school days that he got in touch with later, and this friend of mine, he was doing sort of investment advice and for like 401k and that sort of thing. And he mentioned this other guy because I asked him, do you have any big clients? And he said, yeah, this one friend of mine, he started a cardboard box company, and this was before Amazon. This was in the 80s, maybe around early 90s, and he made millions of dollars off of a cardboard box manufacturing company, and it's just, yeah, like somebody was saying, it's just those little things you don't really think about, that's the way people make fortunes, but it certainly is. I'm going to break a moment. Treadmill for a while, I got rid of it. I now have a stationary bicycle, and that works well for me. But I also find I just need to get myself out of the house, which is another reason to go get the mail. And I would continue walking throughout my neighborhood. I've done it in the past, but you all might recall that right at the entrance to my condo, it's on a very busy street, so it's noisy and busy, and I have to wait for the crosswalks, to give me the go to go across, and it's just enough of a pain that I don't like doing that. So the stationary bicycle is a nice one, and yeah, you don't have to worry about how you're dressed. You don't have to worry about the weather. It's a lot. There's some very nice things about that. And I guess I'll just finish with this. Getting up at 4 a.m. And I think Dave said that would not be him getting up at 4 a.m. My standard joke is if I'm up at 4 a.m., I'm still up. I didn't get up. So with that, I'll send it back. K9PQ.
K9PQ, thanks for that. Let's go to Richard and Kent. K7ITX.
All right. Well, I have a couple guests now since we first came on the air. Literally, a couple inches separate a dog and a cat, and they act like they don't know each other are there. So I don't think the cat knows, because if the cat knew, she'd be teasing the dog. The dog knows, but she's staying quiet. So that's pretty good. So that's pretty interesting that I have the whole gang here tonight. So let's see. Let's start with Wade. Geez, what a busy guy. I think he said radio club, and then dinner and a movie. I mean, that sounds like the good old days, if you ask me. Gosh, I mean, I used to do that like it was just, breeze, literally a breeze. Not anymore. So yeah, and then Jim. Well, I was like Jim running. I mean, I used to run my head off. There was a time when I was running 3 miles in the morning before work every day. I just did it. I don't know. I mean, it just felt good and kept me nice and trim. And the minute I stopped doing it, I got big and round. so the running is a good thing. Now, yeah, the treadmill is a great idea. In fact, I'm kind of I have to use it. I got a couple of fitness centers where I use it at. I don't have one at the house. But yeah, if the weather's really crummy, or hot, too hot or too cold or pouring down rain, then the treadmill at the fitness center is for me. Now, sometimes when we're in these nets, a lot of the topics or things that people mention kind of go hand in hand and not on purpose. Like, for example, let's talk about the oximeter. That is, I carry an oximeter like most people carry their wallet now. It's critical. When I'm on the treadmill, I have it on in the treadmill. Not that it's working that great when I'm on the treadmill, but it's important. Or walking, or just in the house. I've been going downhill lately with my blood oxygen. You always want, in life, most people in general have their the percentage of oxygen in their bloodstream, according to an oximeter, is usually 98, 99, even I've seen 100 quite often. Mine lately is, on a good morning, it's right at 95. It'll hop up to 96. I've seen 97 even. But it doesn't take much for me to head towards the 80s. And 80s and any kind of length of time is not a good thing. But I know how, and that's why I have the oximeter, because I can't feel it. Can't necessarily feel it, but you don't want to be in the 80s for any period of time, and so I'm conscious about checking my oximeter all the time. I know it's not perfect. There's no doubt about it, especially when you're moving around or you're cold or wet, those sorts of things. But when it's in the 80s, I know how to kick in a special, it's called pursed lip breathing. That's very fundamental for people that are sick like me. They get your oxygen up in the 90s. Anything below 90 is a bad trip. And you hear about people, in my world, you hear about people in the 60s and 70s. So it's crazy. So, right now, as long as I can come out of the 80s under my own control and my own special breathing and back into the 90s, I'm pretty safe. However, I'm starting to get close to that threshold where I'm going to have to have supplemental oxygen. Maybe not 24/7, but maybe just around the house, or maybe when I'm asleep. And then it just goes on from there. And unless, of course, I get a transplant, and I have a trip to Phoenix, Arizona, to discuss that very thing the end of March. So, not that I want it, but just trying to stay on guard, so to speak. not least, Ron, I got to mention to you, you know, I'm starting to get paranoid about my closet and my clothes on hangers, and because the boxes on the shelving that the hanger hooks to are looking pretty intense. And so really it's probably, now that I got my taxes done, I think tomorrow is the day when I have to pull boxes off. I don't want it to happen to me like what happened to Ron. Uh-oh, we got trouble in River City, folks. I better, K7ATS, back to net control.
K7ITX, thanks for that. Let's see if Wade's still with us. W7ITL.
TL here. Let me see if I can try again. There we go. I got my video going. Let's see, just a few comments. Ron, your video looked really good tonight on the RF, and I'm guessing your grand stream's working good then. Let's see. I don't have really a lot of comments other than Richard. The blood oxygen, you can measure that with a watch now. I don't know if you have that on your phone, if you have a watch yet that measures your blood oxygen. I checked to see if the iPhone would do it automatically and tell you if you're below a certain threshold, but apparently they don't allow that yet. Maybe that's because the FDA hasn't approved that as like an alert. But I think it makes it more convenient. My watch does tell me when my heart rate goes too high, and I usually know that when my heart rate goes above 95, 100, that I'm probably going to start getting sick, and it seems like every time that my heart rate starts going up, I get sick. So it's another indicator if you're getting sick is your heart rate, and depending on your health. Let's see, that's pretty much it here. I'm just going to wrap up and say 73. You got to get ready for the movie, and let me see if you can see this, guys. I got this. This is my my new toy here. It's called a Analog Pocket. It's a handheld that plays all Game Boys and a bunch of other things like arcades and stuff. It does it through FPGA. It's a field programmable array processor. Basically, you can reprogram the processor to emulate in hardware anything that's within its capability. So this thing it'll emulate all the old arcades from up to the 90s, and then all the game systems of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So, and I don't have to play all my games on my TV now, so it's kind of fun. That's pretty much it. I'll say 73, W7ITL.
W7ITL, thanks for that. Let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, Dave and Dick, taxes. Good for both of you. I'm sorry you got it done so soon, because I'm going to need to be reminded of it in another month or so. But good for both of you. And let's see, I have 42 degrees at the house here, and it's mostly clear. Just some high clouds out there. Ron, 10 meters. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. I keep meaning to fire up something here on 10 meters just to listen in, because it's a good time to do that. But I haven't gotten around to it yet. Jessica, if you're still there, thanks for checking in. Good night. Hope you feel better. Bob, about that Apple Watch, and Wade too, I guess. I read somewhere, not sure if it's true, but the issue with that watch was a patent dispute. So I don't know. Anyway, that's what I heard. But maybe I don't know. I don't know what to say on that, so I won't say anything else. And Dick, I saw your two pets there, and Pippa is sitting right next to you, so we figure that Debbie must not be home. Pippa looks so peaceful there, and Mika just kind of looks out of it. Kind of like normal, actually. I don't know what Sparky looks like now, but yeah, anyway. And let's see. Oh, treadmills, yeah. You know, I actually wanted a rowing machine. Someone was saying something about a stationary bike. What's good about the stationary bikes is that it's not totally weight-bearing. You're sitting on it, you're moving, but when I spend a lot of time on a treadmill or just walking, or for that matter, just standing in general, my back starts to hurt. And it's because my back isn't exactly straight. It's kind of bent up. But nevertheless, I wanted a rowing machine, but my wife wanted a treadmill, so we compromised. But pluses and minuses for all items. Wade, your picture looks a little funky, huh? My picture looks a little funky too. I don't know what happened. It's washed out for some reason. But I've got color on the 1.2 gigahertz downlink. A little on the weak side. Not sure what's going on with the video now, but it's working. And pocket processor, yeah, that looks pretty cool. Couldn't resolve it real well with my video here, but I saw you were holding up something which, if you would have told me it was a cell phone, I would have believed that as well. So that's what I can see now anyway. Back to you, Dave, and 7QO.
7QO. I can't believe it. It's time for another ID. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society Net. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Well, a box factory. I remember many times, many years ago when I was first starting out and being a videographer. I was driving by the Spokane Valley area, and there was a sign, Quickie Fast Box Company. So it was a big cardboard box facility that they made boxes, but that was the name of the corporation, Quickie Fast Box Company. Oh, and with all of these graffiti artists around, you know, they could probably stripe parking lots. You know, they've got the talent. They know how to make that paint go down, and that would they could actually make some money instead of defacing property everywhere around. And the Apple iWatch, yes, the oximeter was a patent problem that Apple hired one of the executives from the guy that held the patent for the oximeter for watches, and all of a sudden that technology became available to Apple for some reason. And so the original patent holder was saying, this doesn't seem right, so he filed a petition with it. But my understanding is right now you can't get the watches from Apple itself, but if you go to Costco or Best Buy, you can get the current watches that have the oximeter in them, and it's still operational. But it's just, you can't buy them directly from Apple at this point because of the patent dispute. Anyway, that's what I've got to say with it. And a rowing machine, yes, I have one of those, the ergometer, the one with the big spinning wheel in the front, and you pull the rope, and you've got the slide that you sit on, and it goes back and forth. And it does really bring a lot of movement to the body and puts you in pretty good shape. I probably had the best stomach muscles when I was doing that for about a half hour a day. And unfortunately, those days are gone, and the tummy is very, very not flat anymore. Sort of rubbery. Probably should get back to that, utilizing that machine. So this is Dave, KD7CYM. So let's go up to Ron, KD7QKU, and find out more about 10 meters.
KD7QKU. Well, I don't know about 10 meters, but so you can get these really inexpensive watches that tell you everything. I mean, that watch was $39.95. You can get them on Amazon. So I had one once before, and I was over to my brother-in-law's, and he was having AFib, and he was going to have this ablation and a whole bunch of things done to his heart, and he was worried about his pulse. He was constantly taking his pulse. So I taken the watch off, and I gave it to him so the watch would give you your pulse, and everything. So then I turned around and I bought another one. I bought a little different one. I bought this one, which I've never even taken out of the box. I wear copper bracelets now. I paid $39.95 for this one, and it tells you how far you walk. It tells you, everything, your blood pressure. I don't know how accurate they are. It tells you the oxygen, content of your blood and all that. So I don't think they're too accurate, but at least it gives you some idea. So let's see. And then Jim, you were saying, you were talking about ham radio. So there's web SDR. So it's it's on your computer. So you just do a little search and find it downloaded. And then it has a nice waterfall on the screen and everything. It's just wonderful. I have it on my laptop. I can sit here and watch the TV, a movie, or whatever I'm watching, and I can actually plug in the headphones, and I can be listening to ham radio, or I can you can do all the bands. So what happens is you get this program, and then you choose somebody that has their computer hooked up to their transceiver, their HF radio. And I usually choose a guy down in Utah or a guy down in California. They're all over the world, but I usually choose those guys. And I can actually go to 10 meters, and I can transmit or be talking to somebody, and I can see myself, and I can hear myself on your computer speakers. It's real cool. So if you don't want to put up antennas and mess around, you can just get web SDR, and you can just sit on your couch or in your recliner, and you can listen to everybody all over the world. They have all kind of nests on 20 meters, country cousins and all that stuff. So it's a good entertainment. And then you were talking about your back and everything. I have a thing called an ab lounger. It kind of looks like a canvas recliner, but you do sit-ups in it. And you can go online and you do a little search, and they'll show you pictures of them. I bought mine at Goodwill for $12. They're pretty expensive. It looked like brand new when I bought it. So that's the best place to get exercise equipment. Over here, the Salvation Army is big on exercise equipment, but so the ab lounger, it strengthens your core. It would help your back, I'm just sure. When my friend I used to fish with Al, when he had some back surgery, his doctor actually recommended that he get one, and he actually got one. That's how I first found out about it. And so you can, if you look at the video on TV, you can, kind of do things sideways, and then, you can, I don't know, you can do all different kind of things on it, but it has to do with sit-ups anyway. And it's a comfortable, easy way to do sit-ups. So, anyway, I went in the other day. I used to do 50 at a time, and I'd do 2 sets. And I went in the other day, and I did 20. And I decided that was enough. And what's the nice thing about it is you can bend backwards, so it goes beyond level. And so if you can bend backwards, that really stretches you. And so anyway, I did 20, and I was tired, because like I say, I'm just out of shape. And so then I did another 20, and then the next day I was just a little bit sore. Just amazing. So yeah, I need to get back in there. My core is not very strong either. So I guess that's about it over here at KD7QKU. So I'll probably say 73s. I don't know. It's not going to come around again, so I'm clear.
87 QKU. Let's go to Bob, K9PQ.
Well, Ron is being very optimistic if he thinks it's going to come back through everybody and back to him in the next minute. Anyway, thanks for correcting me on the Apple patent thing. That makes so much more sense than it just not working. I guess I should not speculate when all I read is the headline. So thanks for that. I also had a rowing machine. And yeah, I think I liked that the best of all of the exercise equipment that I have had in my home. I don't like going to health clubs generally. I like to have it in my home if I can. But you need space for the rowing machine. And also, if you live above somebody, as I do now, it can transmit a lot of noise down through the floor. This stationary bicycle, I've got a sort of a flat platform on top of the carpet, so it's very well sound insulated. And oh, I see I'm going past, so I'm going to cut it off. 73 everybody, and back to net, K9PQ.
K9PQ, thanks for your 7-3, more or less. And it's time to sign off the net. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. On the 08 machine, we'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7ATS repeater 147.08 for our net audio communications. So with that, on behalf of the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, this is Dave, KD7CYM, terminating the net at 9 o'clock. Good evening, all.